Okay, so this is going to get potentially confusing because I'm going to be talking about 4 different entities called Super Earth. There's 2 planets called Super Earth, and to keep them straight, I will be calling them Helldivers 1 Super Earth and Helldivers 2 Super Earth. Then there's the Super Earth government, our glorious leaders that keep us safe from the enemies of democracy, praise be. And finally, a meta version of Super Earth that's information we've received from Arrowhead outside of the games. So am I saying that there's actually more than one planet called Super Earth? No. Well, kind of, but one of them is fake. And really, there might not actually be a Super Earth at all, but that's a different can of worms for another video. What I'm saying right now is that this Helldivers 2 Super Earth in the Sol system at the center of the galactic war map is not really Super Earth in any sense. How can I be so sure? Well, it all starts with this map of Meta Super Earth. This is a map that, as far as I'm aware, doesn't appear in either Helldivers 1 or Helldivers 2 at any point, but it was uploaded by Arrowhead devs to the Helldivers Discord. So this map is information that is for us as the player base outside of the in-universe lore context of the games, hence why I call this Meta Super Earth. This map shows us what Earth, the planet that we are currently living on in real life, which is also the Helldivers 2 Super Earth, looked like after a war that was fought sometime before the year 2044. In 2044, recovery of Earth and the human population began in earnest, and Sweden led an effort to unify all of the population of Earth together. Earth was segmented into new regions called zones, and each zone was designated a capital megacity. And just to be an ugly American about it, the only megacity from this map that is relevant to my argument here today is Megacity 7, which is located in what we know as modern-day New York City. And that's important because in this Helldivers 2 intro, we see the sun rising over what the narrator tells us is Super Earth and see what we can assume is a megacity. Now, if you happen to have people in your Discord community from the Midwest that are absolutely certain that this is the Great Lakes area, shout out to Sir Pubert and Boops, and send you to a Reddit post where user Simping for Otagon posts a one-to-one shot using Google Maps recreating this opening, you can see that this megacity here is pretty much exactly where modern day Detroit is located and spans to Grand Rapids. But as we know from the Super Earth metamap, Megacity 7 is built over what was modern day New York. And when we look at our introduction scene, you can see exactly where New York should be, and it's empty. Which isn't enough to prove on its own that Helldivers 2 Super Earth isn't the real Super Earth, but it does leave us with a major historical and geographical gap that has a few options for why it exists. Again, for reference, construction of the new Megacity 7 likely would have begun sometime around the year 2044, and Helldivers 2 takes place around the year 2184, so we're talking about Megacity 7 being built and disappearing in about 140 years. Possible explanation for this number 1 is that Megacity 7 simply was built and then destroyed or abandoned in 140 years. However, for reference, in America's almost 250-year history, the largest city that's been abandoned is thought to be Jerome, Arizona, which had a land span of less than a square mile and a peak population of around 15,000 people. Take that information for reference as you will. Possible explanation number 2 is that the Super Earth metamap is incredibly wildly wrong, or for an in-game version explanation, the Super Earth government lied about the location of Megacity 7 specifically for some reason. Possible explanation number 3 is the footage of Super Earth that we see here in this opening cutscene isn't actually footage that was physically captured with a camera of Helldivers 2 Super Earth in context of the game. It's either a different similar planet, or what we see here is literally a digitally created cinematic in-universe as part of this recruitment advertisement. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is pretend you're a real person living in the Helldivers 2 world, and when you see this advertisement encouraging you to join the Helldivers, this opening shot was CGI instead of a real section of film taken with a camera. Option number 3 actually becomes the clear and obvious correct choice when you start looking more closely at other major geographical inconsistencies we see on this Helldivers 2 Super Earth, and also when you start looking at the history of the First Galactic War War from Helldivers 1. Let's start with the history. The first galactic war we fight in Helldivers 1 was said to have spanned about a total of 40 years, was concluded 100 years ago around the year 2084, and we know for sure that Helldivers 1 is canon to Helldivers 2. And the thing is that the events of Helldivers 1 actually tells us explicitly that the real Super Earth is not the Helldivers 2 Super Earth. In the first Helldivers game, when a galactic war was lost, we would get to see this cutscene showing us the destruction of the Helldivers 1 Super Earth. Remember, this cutscene happens about 100 years before Helldivers 2. No matter which way you slice it, whenever you look at that planet, that for sure is not planet Earth that our feet are on right now today by geography alone. And if you doubt this, hold tight, because the game is about to literally spell that out for us. As Super Earth lies in ruins, humanity scatters. Not even our greatest warriors could hold back the tide of the alien threat. A three-front war that we lost due to our greed and hubris. But there are many worlds like Old Earth, and we will find another where we will put down roots anew. We will rebuild, and we will have our revenge, eventually. Old Earth is the Earth that our feet are currently on in real life right now. It's the planet that supposedly is Helldivers 2 Super Earth. Helldivers 1 Super Earth that we see get destroyed in the Lost Condition cutscene is not Old Earth. It is a completely different planet at an undisclosed location somewhere else in the galaxy. Of course, the Super Earth government is infamous for feeding us propaganda and disinformation, so why should we believe the Helldivers 1 Super Earth destruction cutscene compared to any other information we get from the Super Earth government? Because after suffering the blow of losing the war, we see the pretense of disinformation fall away. Instead of a speech about the indignity dished out to manage democracy, enemies without honor that stole victory from our clutches through unscrupulous means, we instead just get one very simple explanation for how the war was lost: our hubris and greed. If this is supposed to specifically demonstrate that former dissidents and rebels of the government are now in charge, or that the powers that run Super Earth government have changed their tactics to try and salvage the human spirit in the face of defeat, I couldn't tell you. But it's certainly a far enough cry from standard Super Earth government messaging that we can be sure we're not being fed lines. Okay, so just to recap the facts we have now, because there's a lot of Earths and my bottle of wine is quickly running out. We now know that the Helldivers 1 Super Earth and the planet called Old Earth are not the same planet. By the time we get to the events of Helldivers 2, we are supposed to believe that Old Earth is Super Earth and presumably always has been. But we know that cannot be true because both potential canon endings of Helldivers 1 prevent it. The first potential canon ending of Helldivers 1 is that the Super Earth government wins the first galactic war, and Helldivers 1 Super Earth still exists as the real Super Earth somewhere else in the galaxy as the capital planet of humanity, exact location unknown. The alternative ending is that the Super Earth government either outright loses the galactic war, or the truth is somewhere between a win and a loss, but ultimately the Helldivers 1 Super Earth is destroyed, and the remainders of humanity set out to find another habitable planet as close to Old Earth as they can find. In this situation, if they're heading out to look for planets like Old Earth, then there must be some reason why Old Earth isn't a viable option. Maybe whatever war happened before 2044 made it largely more uninhabitable than previously thought, and that's what pushed humanity spaceward. But regardless of this obvious major hole in logic, and contrary to all the facts we have available to us, by Helldivers 2, Old Earth is supposedly Super Earth. So this begs the ultimate question: why would the government lie about the planetary location of Super Earth? What makes it seem from media distributed to the general population as recruitment tools that Super Earth is the Old Earth? Why is it in the middle of the galactic war map of Helldivers 2 labeled as Super Earth? Well, there's honestly a very good reason for this that makes a ton of tactical sense, and that's that the Helldivers 2 Super Earth, the Old Earth, is a decoy. It's a pretty likely scenario that the insistence Old Earth is Helldivers 2 Super Earth serves as a decoy to help compartmentalize vital information and keep humanity safe from direct planetary scale attacks by democracy's many enemies. If the incredibly indoctrinated and brainwashed masses of humanity don't know where they're living in space, and the Helldivers themselves are kept frozen on their ships and told that they're defending the shining gem of human freedom and liberty in the soul system, that certainly goes a long way to keep the true location of Super Earth safe from falling into enemy hands by way of, say, oh, I don't know, having your brain removed and information extracted before being reprogrammed and put into an automaton body. Yeah, remember how we established in a previous video that automatons are harvesting humans for their brains, and we know this because a lot of the bodies we find collected across their manufacturing facilities seem to be missing their heads, and automatons have bizarrely human-like behavior for supposedly completely robotic, unfeeling machines, including exhibiting symptoms of panic in combat, screaming in pain, and marching chants? The best way to keep the brain of a human or even a Helldiver safe is to make sure they're blissfully unaware of the truth of any information you wouldn't want the enemy having, when said enemy can extract and repurpose your brain. So the Super Earth government did exactly that. They lied. They tell everyone we're still living on old Earth, so the enemy doesn't know where to look for the real Super Earth when the time comes. Hell, even the Ministry of Truth themselves have probably never even been to old Earth because they can't even get a map of the damn planet right. This game trailer made as an in-universe recruitment advertisement? Yeah, the globe on the flag is backwards. Super Earth's logo in the opening cutscene? Bye, Mediterranean Sea. It was nice knowing you. Guys, does our logo have 3 towers or 4? Ah, fuck it. It doesn't matter. We're doing it live. Mega City 7? Something East Coast. Close enough. Nobody's gonna notice. And these are just the glaring, easy to spot inconsistencies with how Helldivers 2 Super Earth is portrayed in official Super Earth government media. I'm sure if we kept digging, we'd find more. For example, if you happened to take a moment to check out our beautiful fake Super Earth when we traveled there to avoid being sucked into the black hole of Meridia, those lights certainly don't look like city lights in either real life or anything consistent with the light we see from the Helldivers 2 opening sequence. In fact, they almost look grid patterned. Is this a hologram? I honestly don't know, and I'm not willing to go quite that far yet, but I will say this is suspicious as fuck. This planet doesn't seem to have major population zones anywhere in our eyesight from orbit when compared to what we see of the megacity and surrounding areas of population, and that's pretty unusual, unless we're stationed above a very remote section of Super Earth, because it seems that these might be snowy mountains. But if that's the case, then it goes back to the question of, what are these lights? And while we're pondering the more meta perspective, there's a very good reason why Helldivers 2 Super Earth would be a decoy outside of the in-game universe. Arrowhead has said that they're not going to reset the galactic map if win or loss conditions are met for this game, meaning that if we liberate literally everything and win the war, the map won't reset back to day 1 like it did in Helldivers 1. The same is also presumably true for if Super Earth is attacked and we fail to successfully defend it. If Super Earth was destroyed and it was a decoy, the facade goes on by voting for a new planet to proclaim as Super Earth and carry on the human legacy and get our revenge against our enemies. No reset needed, and we as Helldivers and patriotic citizens of Super Earth are none the wiser. See, I told you, this all adds up. Super Earth, the Super Earth they want us to think that we're dying to defend, isn't even real. Honestly, I can't be sure if Earth or Super Earth exist anymore. But no matter what, we can't let them keep silencing us. We need to talk about this.
She's in here, open up.
A huge thank you as always to my supporters for helping make this video possible. Leah S over on Patreon, and YouTube channel members Rue on Top and Van Goose.